Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. My dear students, today is Sunday, 12th April. I hope you must have recharged and stored your energies during the weekend and must be feeling very energetic today. All I wish you a happy time today, every day, and for the whole of the week. So, with this great wish, let's have a start with the topic of the day. And today, the topic is prefixes and suffixes. Let's deal with the definition of the prefix first. If we split this word prefix into two parts, like pre and fix, pre means before and fix means fix or add. So it means a prefix is actually a syllable or a set of letters that is added or fixed to the beginning of a word or before the word. Let me repeat the definition again. A prefix is a syllable or a set of letters added to the beginning of a word. Please, dear students, keep this definition in your mind because while we will be dealing with the exercise where you are required to form or make new words by using certain prefixes, this definition will be very much helpful for you. So let's move to the next slide, which is about the function of the prefix. This is the definition. And the next slide is what actually the function of the prefix. A prefix changes the meaning of a word. Mostly it turns it or changes it into opposite. So when we add a prefix or a certain syllable that is called prefix to the beginning of a word, it completely changes the meaning of the word. And many times, I'm not talking all the times, mostly or many times, it changes its meaning to the opposite one. It changes into the negative meaning. So this is the function of the prefix, that when we add it to the beginning of a word, it mostly or many times changes its meaning to an opposite one. Let's move to the next slide. That is the definition of the suffix. A suffix is a syllable or a group of letters added to the end of a word. If you just recall the definition for the prefix is added to the beginning of the word, and a suffix, again, the same, we can say a syllable or a group of letters. But the difference is that it is added to the end of a word. Where prefix is added to the beginning of the word, suffix is required to add to the end of the word. This is the difference between the prefix and suffix. Please keep this difference in your mind. Now the function of the suffix. A suffix also changes the meaning and classification of the word. Not only suffix changes the meaning of the word, but also changes its classification. Here classification means the type of the word. Okay? Like the type of the word, sometimes the word could be a noun. But if we add suffix with that word, then it changes into an adjective. Okay? So this is called word classification of the change in the classification of the word. Now let's deal with the prefixes again. And here I have got examples of the prefixes like in, by, non, des. Let us see that how, if we add these prefixes with these words which have the positive meanings, most of them have the positive meaning, and how they turn into a negative one, how they turn into an opposite words by just adding the prefixes with them. I hope you must be able to recall that what is the definition of the prefix and what is the function of the prefix. The definition of the prefix, let us recall it again. A prefix is added to the beginning of the word. Let us add it to the beginning of this word proper. Sorry. I think it is not possible. Let me tell you orally. If I add this in with proper, like the word proper, proper means right. But if I add in with it, it would become improper. Now the word improper would give the negative meaning. Proper means right and improper means not right. Okay? And here the word complete. Complete means, if you take its positive meaning, its meaning is total or finished. But if I add prefix with it, incomplete, then it would begin to give the negative meaning, opposite meanings, not total or not finished. Fine. Here the word cycle. Cycle is actually the short form of a vehicle which is used to ride. It also means series and periods. But if I add by with it, then specifically this word would become bicycle. And it would give only single meaning, and that meaning is a vehicle which has two wheels and it is used for riding by the children, by the elders also, okay? Let us see the next word, stop. Stop means rokna. If I say it's Urdu meaning, rokna. But if I add non with it, or if I convert its meaning into English, it means not to do. Okay? So if I add non, the prefix non with stop, it would turn into non-stop. Now the word non-stop. Stop means not to do, and stop means to do continuously. When you start doing something continuously, that means non-stop. You're doing it non-stop. Okay? So the word meaning has completely changed. Stop means not to do, and non-stop means continuously do. The prefix dis. Now, if I add it with agree, agree means to accept something. But if I add dis with it, then it would turn disagree, and it would mean not acceptable. So we can say the word with prefixes like improper, incomplete, bicycle, non-stop, disagree. Let us move to the next slide. This is relevant to the suffixes. Now, you can find the examples of the suffix full, de, less, able, and est. These words like care, play, use, suit, hard. For example, if you take the first word care, let me recall the definition for the suffix, that a suffix is added to the last of the word, to the end of the word. Prefix was added to the beginning of the word and suffix to the last of the word. If I add full with care, care, let me tell you the classification of the word care. Care is actually a noun. But if I add full to the last of care, then it would turn careful, and its classification would also be changed. This time, after adding suffix with it, it would be turned into an adjective. Adjective, adjectives are the describing words which describe the noun. Let's move to the next, the play. The word play is both a noun as well as a verb, the first form of the verb. But if I add the with play at the end of play, it would be turned into played. Then its classification would be changed. Also, its meaning would be changed. Play means game and sport, and played means to play a game or sport. And its classification would be changed, like played, meaning the second form or the third form of the word. Play is the root form, but if I add "the" with it, then it would turn into the simple past or the past participle. Let's move to the next, use. Use again is a noun. If I add less at the end of the use, it would become an adjective, useless. Its meaning would also be changed. Use means something which is not unuseful, which is something which is very much important. But if I add less with it, then it means that it has become something which is waste. Okay, so its meaning would be also changed and classification also would be changed. Now the word suit. Suit is again a noun. If I add able to the last of suit, it would be turned into an adjective. Then comes est. If I add s to the last of hard, its classification would be changed. So far hard. Hard means difficult. Its meaning is difficult, but by adding est to the last of hard, not only its meaning would be changed, but also its classification would be changed. Like its classification, if I say about its classification, hard is the positive degree of adjective. You know, the adjectives are divided into 3 degrees: positive, comparative, and superlative. Positive, comparative, and superlative. These are the 3 degrees of adjective. So far, this is the positive degree of the adjective hard. But if I add est with it, it would become hardest. Its classification would be changed. It would turn into the superlative degree of the adjective, and its meaning would also be changed. So far, its meaning is difficult, but if I add est with it, then its meaning would become very much difficult. Very much difficult. So its meaning as well as its classification would be changed. Meaning would turn very difficult, and classification, if you say classification, it would turn into the superlative degree of the adjective. Let's move to the next slide. Here I have 2 words, underlined words, as you can see, prominently you can see in this text. These 2 underlined words, one of them you can see with a suffix and one of them you can see with a prefix. Now you have to guess which one is a suffix and which one is a prefix before I tell to you. Let me read the text. Randy's bike tire was flat, couldn't find the pump because the garage was in disorder. It's hopeless, said Randy. I will never make it to the soccer game on time. Now the word disorder and hopeless. Let us see which word has got the suffix and which word has got the prefix. Like you can see disorder. This word disorder has got the suffix dis. Okay? And prefix, sorry, because prefix is always added to the beginning of the word. You can see the word order has got the prefix dis, and the word hopeless, it has got the suffix less, because less is added to the last of the word and this is added to the beginning of the word order, dis. So this is what a prefix which is added to the beginning of the word order, and less is what a suffix which is added to the last of the word hopeless, hope. Let's move to the next. Again, here we have got a word either with a suffix or with a prefix. Think about for 1 minute until I read the text. That's nonsense, said his brother. You can use my bike. As you can see, the word is sense, and this word is a prefix, non. Non is what? A prefix which is added to the beginning of the word sense, nonsense. Thanks, said Randy, hopping on the bike. Here again, we can find this underlined word hopping, and here we can find the suffix ing, and ing is added to the last of the word hop. So the syllable or a set of letters that is added to the last of the word is called what? A suffix. Ing is also an example of suffix. Let's move to the next. C. I can be likable, said his brother with a grin. Now the word likable is an underlined word with a suffix at the end of the word like. Able is what? A suffix. So this is all about what we were dealing so far about the suffix and prefix. Let's recall the definition of the prefix. A prefix is a syllable or a set of letters added to the beginning of the word. It changes the meaning of the word. Mostly, it turns it into opposite. For the suffix, a suffix is a syllable or a group of letters added to the end of a word. A suffix also changes the meaning and classification of a word. So this is about the suffix and prefix. That how a suffix and a prefix bring a change not only to the meaning of the word, but also to the classification of the word. So, dear students, I have devised a sort of activity also for you, and that you can find on the page 19 of your English book, okay? And it is to the very beginning of the page. Here you are required to make two words with the given suffix and prefix. You have been given the suffix able, full, est. So with each suffix, you would form two words, okay? And with each prefix, like extra, under, this, you would make or form two words. This activity you are supposed to complete today, and you're supposed to give me the image of these of this written work to me on my WhatsApp. I shall wait for your written work. Okay. Until then, Allah Hafiz. Take care. Thank you so much.